Welcome back to another episode of the Boxy Babes podcast. Today we're going to be discussing Sunset Blvd, the latest Andrew Lloyd Webber revival on Broadway. But before we begin, like, follow, and subscribe to Boxy Babes here on YouTube and on all social media platforms at Boxy Babes to stay up to date on all theater news and reviews from Broadway and here in Michigan. And as always, if you have not seen Sunset Blvd and you do not want spoilers, you might want to hightail it out of here because we're going to be covering the story and characters from this incredible musical experience. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show.
That being said, we're going to just dive right in. I don't know about you, RJ, but I had no idea of what to expect from Sunset Blvd because I have not seen it and or heard it or have seen any adaptation of this film before. Film, story, musical. And I think that my reaction that night after the show pretty much sums it all up. I was, would you say blown away was an accurate description of how I was after that show?
Yeah. Yep. I think you were blown away with how blown away you were.
Yeah. So like, again, no prior knowledge to the show. I had no idea what to expect. I had heard that the West End, where this came from originally, people were raving about it. I knew that Nicole Scherzinger was covered in blood at some point. Other than that, I could not tell you heads or tails what was going to happen in the story. And I was equally blown away. What did you know about Sunset Blvd prior to seeing this revival on stage?
So I did see the movie actually recently, about a year ago, and forgot that that's what it was.
Okay. That's a hard thing to forget.
Yeah, I mean, I remembered the movie, but I didn't remember the title. Like, it didn't put the two and two together. Until the moment that it opened, and then I was like, oh yeah.
Here we are.
But yeah, I actually kind of watched it. Well, I was going to watch it with a friend. We watched maybe the first, like, couple minutes, and we were both like confused and like, this isn't very entertaining, and so we turned it off. And then apparently enough of me was enamored that I went back and finished it by myself, and I liked it more like by the end. But it is, I mean, it's the very 50s movie that it is.
Yeah, it's very much inspired by like the golden age of cinema. Like, I mean, I guess that's exactly where it takes place. Like in the 1950s, like the idea of like, this is how cinema should be, and this is how the actors and actresses should be, and this is what life was like. And it's like very much an old story, I think is a good way to put it. It's like an old story that could be very outdated. Like, it could be a very outdated story, and yet there's something about this that is so enamoring. Like I was very enamored watching this show because of the characters and the story that was kind of playing out. Did you? I guess first off, let's go back to Andrew Lloyd Webber. What's his obsession with haunting musicals?
He's just I don't know. He's just a
kooky guy.
Yeah. Yep. Just like
speaks to the dramatics.
Minor-y toned music.
Sure. Okay, so then I'm going to start with an easy question. While this show is pretty much about Norma Desmond, who is the main character to you?
Is that an easy question? I mean, Joe seems like the main kid. Like, Joe is who we are following.
Yes.
So to me, like, I would consider Norma like a close second, but Joe, I feel like I'm following Joe.
Okay. So basically, Joe is this struggling screenwriter who he's hiding his car, correct? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yep.
He's hiding his car and ends up getting enrolled into this like lifestyle plan with Norma Desmond, who's looking to regain her power in a way by bringing a movie back to Hollywood and getting back on the screen. What of this show do you feel like really pulled you in or kind of called to you?
I mean, the music.
Sure. Okay. What about the story, though, did you like?
It's kind of, it leaves space for interpretation, I think.
Okay.
Like we're getting these kind of, the timeline is blurred, so you can kind of imagine what's happening or how this relationship seemingly is developing without actually seeing it all of the time. Like we see
Sure.
moments, but we don't see it continuously.
For sure. And this show really does kind of put an emphasis on relationships specifically, and like the tangle webs that we weave as people and as specifically actors and screenwriters. Like, I think it's a really good story of like how convoluted making a movie and the people, like the personalities that are drawn to that kind of work. Um, there's like the very interesting, but I do like that Joe's kind of this like the person you're following in this really weird world of Hollywood is someone who actually has their head kind of on straight, you know? Like, yeah, he owes some money to some people he probably shouldn't owe money to. And he's kind of entangled with a few people that he shouldn't be entangled with. But truthfully, he's the only one that's kind of questioning the sanity of everybody else. Of being like, we're all in this together. We're in this weird world. Why are we playing these games? Because everybody just seems to kind of be playing around. Playing the same game, you know? And so I did like that he's kind of a straightforward character stuck in this really creepy world of what Hollywood could and probably is.
Yeah, I mean, he brings to light how kind of cutthroat screenwriting is, right?
Yeah.
And what is going to work and what's not going to work. And he says it exactly how it is. Granted, I do think that obviously changes with who he's around.
Sure.
Norma being kind of the exception to the rule, just because of the situation that that he's in.
Sure.
But yeah, he's very, when he's, you know, talking with Betty, talking with his, like, friends, he says, like, this is going to work, this is not going to work, this is a good screenplay, this isn't a good screenplay, you're better off without me, things, seemingly not all conceited. Like, he's just saying the truth.
Absolutely. And he's speaking quite like this show speaks to a lot of different themes, but he kind of is calling to light this idea of like legacy almost, just like he wants to leave this legacy, and he's watching somebody like Norma who had a legacy try to regain that, and he almost is like, I don't know if like I really want to mess with that in that same way. Like, I want something that speaks to my own, but how do I get that without kind of riding on these coattails of somebody like Norma? And so like he sacrifices quite a bit. I should say more like he actually not sacrifices, but he like compromises a lot of his morals to kind of achieve his goals here. Which again makes him very flawed, but you're also kind of rooting for him to make it out alive. And I think what's telling about the story too is that from the beginning he doesn't make it out alive. Like right from the beginning, he comes out of a body bag and he's like, this is the story of how it happened. Which I know that's a huge spoiler, but what other themes do you feel like really speak to you of this show? Because there's quite a few themes. There's a lot of layers to Andrew Lloyd Webber's show here, Sunset Boulevard.
I mean, we of course have the, like, I shouldn't say stereotype, but that like the faded, I mean, you have Norma, right? Her
Yep.
entire storyline being at this kind of glory-ridden days that, I mean, really for her technically haven't ended, right? She thinks that she's still living in it. So maybe it's the, what's the word I'm looking for? The inability to see the truth in what's happening around you. Granted, she has Max kind of covering for her in regards, covering the truth from her, shielding her from that.
Sure.
But I think whether we apply the narrative to just stars or to any of us. I think that everyone goes through chapters, and then some folks have a really hard time letting go of that chapter, and so they just keep extending it even though it's far past its due date, right? It's kind of like if you see, you know, an elderly person trying to pretend like they're 20 years old, like that just, it doesn't make sense. And that can happen in many facets, whether it's age or activity or whatever. In this case, career or theatrical career. The line between reality and what we wish to be reality is it's a little blurred.
What's interesting about Norma for me is the delusion. Because at first I thought, like, clearly, girl, you're delusional. The therapist inside of me was like, let's talk about it. But as the show's going on, I'm starting to realize, I'm like, is it actually her delusion, or is it all just Max orchestrating it all? Because he's the one kind of pulling the strings of being like, don't let her know that, like, she doesn't have a career anymore. And that feels like he's the puppet master of everything behind this. I'm like, so is she truly delusional, or is she living in a reality that she doesn't know because he doesn't allow her to know it? Which is a different form of delusion, because you're living in like you don't know that cereal tastes like Reese's Puffs taste good because your mom won't let you have Reese's Puffs. You know what I mean? Like there's like a level of like caretaker there that he is kind of losing himself in, especially when you find out that he's her ex-husband, and or maybe they're still married, kind of thing, and still taking care of her. That like it's almost like wow, is he responsible for Tom's death? Because is he the one that's clearly holding her fragile ego together, and when it snaps, there's nothing left to go? So like, I feel like that's another layer to all of this. Like, who's actually delusional, or like what level of delusion does everybody in the show have? Is everybody delusional and we're just missing parts of it? I don't know. Do you think that there's an aspect of this that there's more than just Norma being delusional?
Oh yeah. I think most of them are. I think with hers too, very much so. Like, it is him covering for her. I think in order for there to be a cover, you have to not be looking for the cover. So sure. I think as much as he is creating this delusion, she is accepting of it.
Sure.
But I mean, yeah, everyone, I think almost every character. I mean, you have young Betty, who thinks that this screen play is gonna go all the way, and then Joe, like, I'm not even sure what his end game was or would have been, because he was obviously playing into the delusion willingly. And yeah, he was getting stuff out of it by, living there and getting everything out of it. But at the end of the day, like, you had to know that you didn't want to live there forever.
For sure.
So what are you taking with you? Obviously, towards the end, he starts to realize he isn't going anywhere ever.
Sure.
But yeah, the whole thing is delusional, which is probably what makes people drawn to it.
Do you think that's what it is? Because I was wondering, we were in a packed house, and I'm trying to remember when we saw this. Did we see this in the middle of a week? Like, there's like was a packed house, and you're just like, wow, this show seems to be crossing a lot of barriers, because there was a lot of young people, there was a lot of old people, there was a lot of, there was gay couples, there were straight couples, there, like, everybody was there to see this show, and I'm just like, what? Granted, after I knew kind of what it was, but it's like, what is drawing people to this so hard and in such droves? Because there's been other revivals of Sunset Boulevard. There was something about this one that still spoke to them.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, cult classic story. actually the original reason that I even knew it existed was because a local group was doing like a, not a book club, but like a movie club, um,
Mhm.
where everyone watches the movie and then they all meet to talk about it. I didn't actually end up going, but
But
um, but that tells you like it's still significant. Like people were still doing that; they're still watching it.
yeah, no, and I think it's because there's like a creepiness to the reality of it. I think it's kind of where it falls. I think people are intrigued and kind of attracted to that aspect of this, of just being like, what is it about Norma Desmond that is just so intoxicating? Because she is kind of intoxicating to watch. And I think this speaks to maybe even the performances too, of like Nicole Scherzinger as Norma Desmond. That was not on my bingo card for 2025, but like she was great in this role because she was so terrifying. Like that, I think that's a good way to put it. Like there's a terrifyingness to Norma Desmond.
Oh yeah, I mean it is exactly. I mean she is just the right amount of was just the right amount of haunting. Her stature, just it was very appropriate to exactly how you would imagine in kind of old timey movie star to carry herself. When you think that you're all that, then you're all that.
Absolutely. I mean, though her like, I think that like again we'll talk about this more in part two, but like there's not much on stage. There's not a lot of costumes. There's not a lot of props. In fact, there's almost no props. You just have Nicole Scherzinger in like a nightie. Like I think that's the best way to put it. Like negligee. I'm aging myself with these words here. But like what it gave her, that it was like the way she moved her body and the way that it was like very like rigid and almost like somebody who's not moving in time, who should be moving in time. You know what I mean? And so that was very interesting in that like she was captivating to watch. And I think her against um the guy who played Tom Francis Joe um was, I don't know, there was an intoxicatingness between the two of them of how just terrifying it was to watch them slowly spiral through Act 1 and Act 2.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she moved like royalty.
Uh-huh.
Very like every move was intentionally. It wasn't delicate, but it wasn't bold. It was like just it was strong enough. And then yeah, and he was kind of the opposite. I mean, she appeared to be frail, where he appeared to be strong, and but they both were equally strong when it came to their individual beings
Sure.
and or opinions.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, they played off each other well.
And then kind of paired with them too was Max. And the actor who played Max, David Thaxton, was just so creepy as well. And I feel like they casted the show very well. They cast the show, sorry, not casted. I should use the proper English here, but they cast the show very well. That you couldn't help to just become so overly involved in the drama that's happening on stage that like I think this was one of the quickest moving shows that we saw for me. I think like pacing wise, when it came to the show, came to the story, I was so wrapped up in it that by the time Act 1 ended, I was like, wait a second, we just got here. Like, what are you talking about? It's time to get up and stretch my legs. Um, that has to do with their acting through and through. When it comes to the ensemble, because there's a lot of moving pieces here. I mean, I'm going through the list. I'm looking right now. There's like so many ensemble pieces. How do you think that like that helped? Like, did that help or deter from the story? Because it was such an intimate story with so little people. Did having all those extras around the stage, did it distract at all? Did it deter from the story, or did it seem to add something to it?
No, I mean I thought it was the right amount. I mean, it was applicable to what they were trying to do storytelling wise. I mean, most of the time they weren't on stage, or they were. If they were, it was very intentional. Um, And then, as we'll talk about later, regarding the way that this entire show is staged, they're important, right? Like, I imagine that the ensemble are the ones doing that. So, aside from obviously like the opening number, or it's not technically the opening number, but the group number, there's a couple group numbers, but nothing that I think deters from our primaries.
Okay. Who was your favorite standout performance? Was there anyone that just like that took the cake for you?
I mean, Nicole is Nicole. I mean, like it would be wrong of me to not say that she's a standout, but also I feel like, of course, she's a standout. Her name is literally above the title.
Yes.
But with that being said, I thought those four, our four leads, were all incredibly, like you said, well cast. Did very, very well. Especially for the way in which the show is done. Like it takes a certain kind of person, I think, to be able to have the intensity that the cast did have.
And I think that what we've known about Nicole since the Pussycat Doll days, you know, like we've like she's been part of our lives in some capacity for decades. I was really blown away by Tom Francis, who not only is 25 years old on stage from England, but he's done Rent, he's done Anne Juliet, and he's done Sunset Boulevard. Like he played Romeo in Anne Juliet, he played Roger in Rent, but he's only been on the stage for 5 years now, and you could not tell me that wasn't a seasoned professional. He absolutely killed it. Like there was just, I would have thought they were about the same age or had the same amount of time being in front of people. You couldn't have convinced me. I mean, he went through half of the time that he was on stage, we had COVID and the stages were closed.
It's insane.
That there's like a level of impressiveness to that, because as we'll talk about in episode 2, there's a technical thing at the beginning of Act 2 that I think would scare most people this new in their career, because it scared me and how they did it, because it was so impressive. So yeah, obviously Nicole, a absolute goddess. Grace Hodgett Young was fantastic as Betty. David Thaxton, great as Max. But I was really blown away by Tom Francis. So I got to give a shout out to Tom. And with that, we are actually wrapping up our first episode of their Sunset Boulevard podcast. So look out for part 2, where we'll be discussing some of the technical aspects of the show. Thank you again for joining us here in our box seats until the next curtain call.